There's a specific type of power that terrifies weak people more than anything else, and it's not the loud, aggressive dominance that most men mistake for strength. It's the quiet, unshakable presence of someone who has absolutely nothing to prove and everything to protect. And the ancient Stoics perfected this art of being dangerous in silence to the point where Marcus Aurelius could walk into a room of senators plotting against him and not say a single word, yet completely shift the energy. Through pure presence alone, because real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation or recognition. It simply exists with such undeniable weight that everyone around it instinctively understands they're in the presence of someone who should not be tested. The problem with modern society is that it's trained you to believe that power comes from being the loudest person in the room, from constantly proving yourself, from broadcasting every achievement and flexing every muscle. But that's actually a sign of insecurity and weakness, because truly dangerous people move in complete silence. They build empires while others build social media presence. They develop skills while others develop excuses, and by the time anyone realizes what they've become, it's already too late to compete. I'm going to give you 10 specific Stoic lessons that will transform you from someone who talks about what they're going to do into someone who simply does it and lets the results speak. And these aren't motivational platitudes. These are psychological weapons that the most powerful men in history used to dominate their fields while remaining completely understated. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why silence is the most powerful response in almost every situation, and how to cultivate the kind of quiet confidence that makes people nervous without you saying a word. Now, before we dive into these 10 lessons that are going to completely change how you operate in the world, I need to tell you about something that's going to accelerate this entire transformation, and that's the subconscious millionaire system that I've linked in the description. Because here's what most people don't understand. Becoming dangerous in silence isn't about faking confidence or pretending to be stoic. It's about rewiring your subconscious mind so that quiet power becomes your default state rather than something you have to consciously maintain. And that system gives you the exact framework for reprogramming those deep subconscious patterns around confidence, power, and self-worth so that you naturally embody these principles without effort. If you're serious about this transformation and not just collecting information that you'll never implement, check out that link after this video because it's going to give you the tools to make this permanent. But right now, let's talk about the first lesson that separates dangerous men from harmless ones. The first lesson is mastering the art of revealing nothing about your true intentions, capabilities, or next moves. And this goes directly against everything social media has taught you about broadcasting your goals and sharing your journey. But the Stoics understood that information is leverage, and every time you reveal something about yourself, you're giving away power to people who might use it against you. Epictetus taught his students to be like a well that people can draw from but can never see the bottom of, meaning you provide value and help when appropriate, but you never let anyone fully understand the depth of what you're capable of or what you're planning. Because the moment people think they have you figured out, they stop respecting your potential and start treating you like a known quantity they can manipulate or dismiss. Marcus Aurelius deliberately cultivated an image of being a philosopher king who cared only about duty and virtue, and his enemies constantly underestimated him because they didn't see the ruthless strategic mind operating beneath the philosophical exterior. And by the time they realized what he was actually capable of, their plots had already been neutralized without them even knowing he was the one who dismantled them. The practical application is simple, but most people can't do it because their ego desperately needs recognition. You stop announcing your goals, you stop sharing your plans, you stop posting about your progress, and you let your results be the only thing that speaks. And what happens is that people start getting uncomfortable because they can't categorize you, they can't predict you, they can't put you in a box. And that uncertainty creates a kind of psychological leverage where they start attributing more power to you than you might even actually have, because the unknown is always more intimidating than the known. Think about the difference between the guy who posts every day about his business journey versus the guy who disappears for 6 months and then shows up having built something undeniable. The first guy gets encouraging comments, but no real respect, Because everyone watched him struggle and fail publicly, the second guy gets respect and opportunity because people only see the result and they have to imagine the work that went into it, which always seems more impressive than the reality. The second lesson is developing a physical and energetic presence that communicates power without needing words. And the Stoics were obsessed with this concept of gravitas, which was this quality of serious dignity and weight that made people naturally defer to you even if you held no official authority. Marcus Aurelius writes about controlling your facial expressions, your posture, your breathing, because these physical manifestations reveal your internal state. And if your internal state is chaotic and reactive, your body will broadcast that weakness to everyone around you. But if your internal state is calm and centered, your body becomes like granite, immovable and impassive in a way that makes other people unconsciously adjust their behavior around you. The most dangerous men in any room are the ones who can sit in complete silence while chaos erupts around them and not have a single muscle twitch or a single change in breathing pattern. Because that level of self-control signals to everyone's primitive brain that this person has seen worse, has handled worse, and is not going to be rattled by whatever amateur hour drama is unfolding to here's the tactical implementation. You start training your body to remain absolutely still and relaxed in high stress situations. You practice maintaining slow, deep breathing even when your heart rate wants to spike. You train yourself to make direct eye contact without the social anxiety that makes most people look away, and you eliminate all the nervous fidgeting and unnecessary movement that signals insecurity and discomfort. When someone is speaking to you, especially if they're trying to provoke a reaction, you practice the Stoic discipline of the pause, where you wait 3 full seconds after they finish speaking before you respond. And in those 3 seconds, you're not scrambling to think of what to say. You're simply being present and allowing the silence to do the work for you. Because silence makes weak people incredibly uncomfortable, and they will often reveal far more than they intended just to fill the void. The goal is to become someone whose mere presence changes the energy of a space without you having to perform or prove anything. And that comes from the internal work of genuinely not needing anything from anyone. Not their approval, not their validation, not their agreement. And when you truly don't need anything, your body language reflects that autonomy in a way that's magnetic and intimidating simultaneously. The third lesson is learning to transform anger and emotion into cold, calculated response. And this is where most men completely fail, because they confuse emotional reactivity with passion or authenticity. But the Stoics understood that anger is just fear wearing a mask. It's your ego feeling threatened and lashing out to protect itself. And every time you react with visible anger, you're showing everyone exactly how to control you. Seneca wrote an entire treatise on anger, where he argues that it's the most destructive emotion because it makes you do things you would never do in a rational state. And more importantly, it broadcasts to your enemies exactly which buttons to push to make you lose control. So the more you react with anger, the more power you give to anyone who wants to manipulate you. The dangerous man doesn't get angry. He gets focused when someone disrespects him or crosses a boundary. There's no yelling, no threats, no emotional display. There's just a cold shift in his eyes and a mental note being made. And that person might not feel the consequences immediately, but they will feel them eventually. And they'll be far more severe than anything that would have come from a hot emotional reaction. The Stoic practice for this is called the discipline of assent, where you train yourself to pause between stimulus and response and consciously choose how you want to react rather than being hijacked by automatic emotional patterns. So when someone does something that would normally make you angry, you notice the anger arising as a physical sensation in your body. You observe it without identifying with it. And then you make a conscious choice about whether expressing that anger serves your interests or not. And 99% of the time the answer is no, it doesn't serve you. It just makes you feel temporarily powerful while actually making you weaker. Marcus Aurelius reminds himself constantly that getting angry at someone for their nature is like getting angry at a fig tree for producing figs. People are going to act according to their character and conditioning, and your anger doesn't change them. It just depletes your energy and reveals your vulnerabilities. So the truly powerful response is to accept their nature, adjust your expectations accordingly, and then make whatever strategic moves are necessary to protect your interests without any emotional investment in the outcome. And this is exactly the kind of deep subconscious reprogramming that the subconscious millionaire system specializes in. Because your emotional reactions aren't something you can just willpower your way through. They're hardwired patterns that got installed during childhood and reinforced over decades. And until you address them at the subconscious level where they actually live, you're going to keep falling back into the same reactive patterns no matter how much Stoic philosophy you read. That system gives you specific techniques for identifying and rewiring those automatic emotional responses, so that calm, calculated presence becomes your default rather than something you have to fake. And I cannot emphasize enough how much this accelerates your transformation from someone who talks about being stoic to someone who actually embodies it. So make sure you check out that link in the description if you're serious about becoming genuinely dangerous rather than just appearing dangerous. But let's keep going, because the next lessons are where this gets even more powerful. The fourth lesson is cultivating patience as a strategic weapon. And this separates amateurs from masters in every single domain, because amateurs want immediate results and immediate gratification, while masters understand that real power compounds over time, and the person who can wait the longest while continuing to build usually wins. The Stoics practiced what they called long-time preference, where you train yourself to value future outcomes over present comfort. And this goes against every instinct of your primitive brain, which evolved in an environment where immediate threats and immediate opportunities were all that mattered. But in the modern world, the ability to delay gratification and play the long game is probably the single most valuable skill you could develop. Marcus Aurelius spent decades preparing to be emperor before he actually took power. And during that time, he could have tried to accelerate the process, could have made moves for more immediate influence. But instead, he focused entirely on developing his character and competence. And when the time came, he was so thoroughly prepared that his transition to power was seamless and his authority was unquestionable. The dangerous man doesn't rush. He doesn't force. He doesn't try to make things happen on his timeline. He plants seeds and then tends to them with absolute consistency, while other people are distracted chasing the next shiny object. And by the time those seeds grow into trees, he's so far ahead that competition becomes irrelevant. Here's the practical application that most people can't handle. You pick one skill, one business, one craft, and you commit to developing it for a minimum of 5 years without changing direction, without getting distracted, without expecting results in month 3. And what happens is that compound interest starts working in your favor, where every day of consistent effort builds on the previous day. And after year 2 or 3, you start seeing exponential returns that people who kept switching directions will never experience. The Stoic practice is to regularly visualize yourself 10 years in the future and ask what that version of you wishes you had started today. And then you start it, and you protect it with absolute ruthlessness from all the distractions and short-term opportunities that will try to pull you off course. Because patience isn't passive waiting. Patience is active, consistent effort directed toward a long-term vision that you trust more than you trust immediate feedback. The fifth lesson is eliminating your need for external validation. And this might be the hardest one for modern men, because you've been conditioned from birth to seek approval from parents, teachers, peers, society, and now social media. But every single time you need someone else to validate your worth or your decisions, you're giving them power over you. And truly dangerous people are completely autonomous in their sense of self-worth. Epictetus teaches that you should never tie your happiness or self-esteem to things outside your control. And other people's opinions are fundamentally outside your control, because you can never fully know what someone else is thinking or why they're thinking it. So basing your worth on their approval is like building your house on quicksand. It feels stable until suddenly it doesn't. The Stoics practiced something called the view from above, where you zoom out and see yourself from a cosmic perspective. And from that vantage point, the opinions of random people, or even people you know, become completely irrelevant, because everyone is just doing their best with their limited understanding and their own insecurities and projections. So why would you give their judgment any weight in determining your worth? The dangerous man has defined his own standards and values independent of what society tells him he should want or who he should be. And then he measures himself only against those internal standards, not against other people's achievements or expectations, which creates this unshakable foundation that can't be knocked down by criticism or inflated by praise, because both are equally irrelevant to his self-assessment. Marcus Aurelius writes that it's silly to expect good people to do anything other than what good people do, and similarly it's silly to expect people driven by ego and insecurity to do anything other than project their issues onto you. So when someone criticizes you or tries to diminish you, the Stoic response is to examine whether there's any truth in what they're saying that you can use to improve, and if there is, you thank them for the feedback and integrate it, and if there isn't, you completely disregard it without any emotional reaction, because their opinion has no bearing on your actual worth or capability. The sixth lesson is mastering the art of silent observation, and this is where you develop the ability to read rooms, read people, and gather intelligence without anyone realizing you're doing it. Because most people are so busy talking and performing that they miss 90% of what's actually happening around them. The Stoics were obsessed with paying attention to what people do rather than what they say, because words are cheap and people lie to themselves and others constantly. But behavior reveals true character and true intentions. And if you're quiet and observant, you can learn everything you need to know about someone just by watching how they treat waiters, how they handle minor frustrations, how they talk about people who aren't in the room. And all of this information becomes leverage that you can use strategically when necessary. Marcus Aurelius developed this practice to such a high level that he could predict political moves and betrayals before they happened, because he was constantly observing patterns in people's behavior and motivations, and he never revealed what he knew until the strategic moment, when that knowledge could be most effectively deployed. The practical application is to go into every social situation with the intention of listening 70% of the time and speaking 30%. And when you do speak, it's strategic and purposeful rather than filling silence or seeking validation. And what you'll notice is that people start revealing far more to you than they reveal to others, because they feel heard and they mistake your silence for deep interest rather than strategic intelligence gathering. The dangerous man knows that information is power, and the best way to gather information is to create space for other people to fill with their words, their insecurities, their ambitions, their fears, and all of that becomes data that you can use to understand their leverage points and their weaknesses. The Stoic practice is to spend at least 10 minutes every evening reviewing your day and specifically noting what you observed about people's motivations and patterns. Not in a manipulative way, but in a strategic awareness way. Because the more you understand human nature, the less you can be blindsided or manipulated, and the more effectively you can navigate social and professional dynamics to your advantage. The seventh lesson is building in complete secrecy and only revealing yourself when you've already won. And this goes against every instinct of the ego, which wants recognition for effort and validation for progress. But the truly dangerous move is to work in obscurity for years, developing skills and building assets that nobody knows about until you emerge with something so undeniable that your arrival can't be ignored or dismissed. The Stoics understood that premature revelation invites interference. If people know what you're building before it's strong enough to withstand attack, they will try to stop you, they will try to discourage you, they will try to steal your ideas or sabotage your progress. But if you build in silence and only emerge when you've already achieved critical mass, there's nothing they can do except acknowledge what you've accomplished. Marcus Aurelius never talked about his meditations, never shared his philosophical writings publicly. They were private journals for his own development, and it was only after his death that they were discovered and became one of the most influential philosophical texts in human history. And that's the power of building for yourself rather than for recognition. The modern application is to completely stop posting about your goals, stop sharing your plans, stop seeking encouragement or accountability from social media, and instead channel all that energy into the actual work. And what you'll discover is that without the dopamine hit of likes and comments, you're forced to find intrinsic motivation, which is the only kind of motivation that actually sustains long-term achievement. The dangerous man has projects and skills and assets that nobody knows about. So when opportunities arise, or when he needs to pivot, he has options that nobody saw coming. And that element of surprise is incredibly powerful, because people make assumptions about your capabilities based on what they can see, And if they can only see 10% of what you're actually capable of, they will consistently underestimate you, which gives you a massive strategic advantage in negotiations, competitions, and conflicts. The eighth lesson is embracing solitude as your training ground, because dangerous men aren't afraid of being alone. They prefer it. That's where they do their best thinking, their deepest work, their most important development. And the Stoics regularly practice voluntary isolation to strengthen their minds and test their self-sufficiency. The ninth lesson is developing the ability to walk away from anything, any relationship, any opportunity, any situation that doesn't align with your values, because the moment you become too attached to stay or too desperate to leave, you've lost your power. And the truly dangerous position is complete willingness to walk away, which paradoxically makes people more likely to give you what you want, because they sense they can't control you with fear of loss. And the 10th lesson is understanding that your reputation should be built on what you do, not what you say. So you become someone whose word is absolutely binding and whose actions speak louder than anyone else's promises. And over time, this creates a kind of quiet authority where people know that when you commit to something, it will happen. And when you give your word, it's as solid as a contract. And that reliability, combined with silence about your capabilities, makes you someone that's smart. People want as an ally, and foolish people learned not to cross. So let's bring all 10 lessons together into a complete framework for becoming dangerous in silence. First, reveal nothing about your true capabilities or intentions. Second, develop a physical presence that communicates power without words. Third, transform anger into cold, calculated response. Fourth, cultivate patience as a strategic weapon. Fifth, eliminate your need for external validation. Sixth, master the art of silent observation. Seventh, build in secret and reveal in strength. Eighth, embrace solitude as your training ground. Ninth, develop the ability to walk away from anything. And 10th, let your actions build your reputation instead of your words. These 10 lessons create a complete transformation from someone who needs to be seen and heard to someone whose presence is felt even in absence. And that's the highest form of power because it can't be taken from you. It can't be diminished by criticism, and it compounds over time as your results speak louder than anyone else's promises. Now here's the reality that you need to understand. Knowing these lessons intellectually does absolutely nothing. The gap between knowing and embodying is where 99% of people fail, because these principles require deep subconscious reprogramming, not just surface-level behavior modification. And that's exactly why the subconscious millionaire system that I've linked in the description is so critical for anyone serious about this transformation. That system gives you the specific techniques for rewiring the subconscious patterns around confidence, power, validation-seeking, emotional reactivity, and self-worth that are running your life beneath your conscious awareness. And when you combine that deep reprogramming work with these 10 Stoic lessons, you create an unstoppable transformation where quiet power becomes your natural state rather than something you're trying to perform. The dangerous men who change the world don't talk about what they're going to do. They don't seek permission or validation. They don't announce their presence. They simply build in silence and let their results create the noise. And if that's the level you want to operate at, you need to click that link right now while you're thinking about it. Get the subconscious millionaire system and start doing the actual internal work that makes this transformation permanent. And then subscribe to this channel if you want more ancient wisdom combined with modern psychology to help you become genuinely dangerous rather than just appearing dangerous. Because the world has enough loud, mediocre men. What it needs is more silent killers who let their work speak for itself.